So as you have seen today, the police department's urban search and rescue team, a highly trained group of individuals, have been searching the river bank and the river itself using a sonar-equipped boat. Thus far, we've found no sign of our missing person. Sergeant Bob Nielsen is a supervisor for our homicide cold case unit. That unit is responsible for investigating missing persons, and Sergeant Nielsen's going to go over with you now where the investigation stands at this point. Sergeant Nielsen.
As Don has already mentioned, we've been out here with our urban search and rescue people today. We've also utilized my cold case detectives on foot traveling through the area. We've also used aviation as well as our police boat, which, as he mentioned, has sonar. In the past couple of days, we've also involved the Office of Emergency Management. They have a boat with sonar, and they also have a drone. We've had their drone operator come out here. And we've also been utilizing our downtown partnership people and just trying to make any contacts of some of the citizens walking through here, including people that live in nearby homeless camps, and have been re-canvassing for video and reaching out to some of the bars and businesses down here, which I'd like to point out that they've all been extremely cooperative with us. And I'm open to any questions you have. So the last thing we had on the phone information was all of the pings that they did were based on exigency, so we were able to get that. Apple has been very helpful with us. We're still waiting on some phone record information. We're still waiting on that data. However, the last ping that they had was off a cell tower near Top Golf, which is on the other side of the river. However, the radius is about 2 miles, so it doesn't give us a direction to travel or more detailed information. We just know that that's the tower that it hit off of. We're still waiting on the phone records. We don't have the information quite back on the Apple Watch. I didn't know this. I'm not an Apple person, but apparently it has its own separate phone number. So that's one of the things that we're also waiting on, is data from that as well. It doesn't tell us exactly why they went down. There could be a variable number of reasons of why both of those went down, from we don't know how long he had them charged to, turned them off. I mean, any number of things. But the data right now, the rest of it, his phone records and so forth, we're still waiting on. We know that the last ping off that tower was between 9:55 p.m. and 10 p.m. And I believe the last phone conversation or attempted conversation by one of his friends was also during that same time. That was the last time anybody had any kind of interaction with him on the phone.
We'll talk about our cameras, Bob, what we know from the cameras.
Thank you. With the camera footage that we have right now, the last known footage we have of Mr. Strain was coming in this direction, which would be towards us in a northerly direction. It caught him between the James Robertson Bridge and Woodland Street Bridge traveling this way. He was on foot. There was nobody else around him that we can see. We do have some cameras on the back of our Birch building, which is our courthouse here. However, it doesn't catch him crossing the path of that, and they would have caught anybody on either side of the Gay Street connector. So at this point, we're kind of back canvassing, if you will, going back, possible route he may have taken from Broadway up 3rd, down towards Church Street, down in this direction, to look for any other cameras we may have missed, as well as look for any other potential employees at some of these businesses that we can talk to that may not have been here the past few days, but might have been here Friday night. So we're still going back and looking for more cameras and more witnesses. No, there's absolutely no indication whatsoever there's any kind of foul play or other crime involved. This is strictly a missing person investigation at this point. Obviously, those things can always change. We just don't know. But right now, all of our resources are dedicated towards finding him. We're not conducting a criminal investigation of any type. So we're utilizing all of our detectives and our other resources, as we mentioned, in just looking for him. Because, like I said, there's no indication he was in a fight or argument with anybody on the street, as far as we know right now, or anybody in any establishment he may have visited. So we're just solely looking at this as a missing person case. So we don't believe, based on the information we have so far from financial institution, that he utilized any kind of ride share However, I know that I believe the family or someone has reached out asking if they may have caught him on video, because as we all know, a lot of your rideshare partners will have dash cams. And so people have reached out to them, hey, if you see anything, can you send it to us, send it to the police department? But we have not seen any evidence that he would have used that. All the footage that we have so far, he was walking, so there's no indication that he got into a vehicle, whether a cab or a rideshare. And then, of course, until we get his phone records back, we can't see if he utilized any one of those types of applications as well. I don't. There was no real interaction between the two because that officer was dealing with that other situation. Any other questions? Oh, yeah. So I was just telling them that basically we've been utilizing our urban search and rescue people as well as our police boat. They've gone up and down the bank. They've made multiple sweeps. Urban Search and Rescue has checked several areas, including any dilapidated buildings, as well as there's a storm drain that people will use sometimes. So they've been doing that, as well as we've had our cold case detectives actually walking the Greenway all the way up towards Jefferson Street, because there's a lot of residential new buildings up there that you can't get to by vehicle. You can get to the buildings, but you can't get behind them. So we're trying to utilize everybody on foot, on boat. We've utilized aviation. Office of Emergency Management has come out the past couple of days, couple of times, both with the boat, with sonar, as well as with their drone. And then also, I don't know if many of you are familiar with the Cajun Navy, United Cajun Navy. There's a couple different organizations from Louisiana, but they also have members in other states, including Tennessee. They've also come up here to assist us with an airboat and some of their resources from private organizations to also assist in the search for Riley. It's just a natural progression. You know, with a missing persons case, people go missing for various reasons. Some are voluntary, some are not. Some could be due to a medical incident. Right now, we have no idea what happened with this gentleman. We don't believe that there's any crime involved, however. So all of our resources right now are dedicated towards locating him, and then once we find him, to try to see if there's any kind of, medical attention, something that he may need. And obviously we're looking for a positive outcome, and so, but we're open to all the information that we get. We're still utilizing our Crime Stoppers. A lot of people think that that's just for crimes, homicides, robberies, so forth, but we've also utilized that for people calling in, and I've been getting Crime Stoppers tips every single day regarding possible sightings or any information that people think that they have. I mean, you name it, people call us, we're checking it out. We've also provided our information. Contact us, either me directly by email, my lead detective, or our public information office, our social media, Facebook, Instagram, all that. So we're utilizing absolutely every resource we can possibly think of at this point. There's no reason to believe that he's been a victim of a crime, and I can't possibly think of any other resource we could utilize that we haven't used or are using right now. Yeah, he's been entered into NCIC, which is very common. So when we do a missing person report, when that's entered into NCIC, and as we bolo that information, and we push it out to some of our partner, like Sumner County, Cheatham County, THP, and so forth, they usually get that information. Our fusion centers tend to push a lot of that information out as well. So that information has pretty much been disseminated. Yes, ma'am. That's true. So actually back in this direction, this first bridge is James Robertson Parkway. The next bridge is Woodland Street. He was last seen between those two bridges traveling in this direction, and that's the last footage that we have. I think that was around 9:52, 9:53, somewhere in that range. There's actually a large homeless encampment that's down the riverbank. And we actually made contact with some of those people today. Our urban search and rescue people talked to them. They even let us search that area, because that's treated like a domicile where some of them are. So they've been very helpful as well. And so We're just utilizing everybody we can talk to in this area, but that's the last known area. So what they told you is accurate. They just didn't know that the homeless encampment was down there. So.
Yeah, so at that point, once he's off camera, we don't know if he went down or got in a car. We don't know anything because it's off camera, right?
Correct, and as I mentioned to them, there are cameras on the back of the Birch building, but they would have caught anybody on either side of the street, but there's nothing to indicate he came this way. So we also utilize the camera. There's a pole camera right there as well, and it doesn't show him in this direction. So in the event that he could have possibly have doubled back and the other camera that we last saw him on didn't catch him, both, actually all detectives that we have out on this, as well as the security people that watch the parking garage and the families themselves. I mean, we've had 3 different groups literally go through that parking garage for the past 2 days, just in case they've missed an open door, the safety netting in case somebody somehow went over the side. They've checked everything that they can over there, and security was checking again for us today, just because there's always that possibility the camera didn't catch him going back across, and maybe he went back up to James Robertson through that parking garage, as well as the stairs on the outside of the parking garage. Not that we've seen on video. I know some people that have called in have thought there was, but we haven't seen any evidence of that. I was told today that there was a homeless gentleman that may have actually seen him, like close proximity, like from me to you. So we're actually trying to find that individual right now to see if he can provide us for more information, but we haven't been able to find him so far. Yes, ma'am. It's just like when we have a homicide, we try to have one point of contact, whether it's one parent, 2 parents, an aunt, whoever is kind of the spokesperson for the family, just because the nature of the investigation can be so cumbersome that it's hard for us to answer multiple questions. Like if there's 15 of you out here right now, realistically, we may not have the time to talk to actual 15 individual people, right? That's why we have public information officers, or like here, we're doing a quick briefing on it. So usually what we'll do, and as I've spoken to Mom and Dad today, was everything will go through them. So they have multiple ways to contact me. Any questions they have, even from other family, I've asked them to direct it to Mom and Dad, let Mom and Dad contact us, because otherwise it gets to be the telephone game, and then misinformation gets out there. And in this case, it's a missing person, but if it was a homicide, then we risk the chance of affecting the integrity of that case. And obviously we don't want to put everything out in a homicide. In this case, we're putting everything out because it's a missing person. But it still helps to have just one point of contact, just because everybody wants to know, but they also have to understand that for us to do our job effectively, we're utilizing literally everybody that we have that we can at the moment. And so if I have like 5 detectives here today, and they're all handling phone calls, well, then I don't have any detectives out here looking for this gentleman. So that's why it's easier just to have 1 or 2 points of contact. And 9 times out of 10, the families are extremely understanding, extremely cooperative, and they totally understand where we're coming from, and we've always had a good exchange with that. Right now, as far as I know, it's just ours, and then some of the local groups, like I said, the Cajun Navy. I just was contacted yesterday by somebody, I think he works a task force with the state of Tennessee, so we're going to be reaching out to him as well. But right now, there's not really been a need for other resources based on everything we have between USAR, all the equipment, aviation, as well as the Office of Emergency Management, so I guess you can count them as an outside source, but I don't really, because they work hand in hand with us on so many other incidents. But if it goes to a point where we think we need additional help, whether it's state or federal, we have no problem immediately contacting them and requesting that assistance.
What's the plan?
Pretty much recanvassing for video, looking for any other people that we can talk to, pretty much. Reaching out to other officers. A lot of our officers in patrol have really good rapport with the people in the communities, neighborhoods that they work. And so a lot of them get to know a lot of the homeless population. So if we say, hey, we're looking for John Doe, because he may have information, there's some amazing patrol officers that we have that know everybody in their area, and they can help us find that. So that's one of the things we'll be utilizing. And a lot of it now at this point is just filtering all the information. As I said, we've been getting just dozens of Crime Stoppers tips every day, pretty much since this has started. And so it takes time to go through all of those, scrutinize that information, make certain that, you know, there could be a viable lead. A lot of them, as you can imagine, is just frivolous information, and I'll leave it at that. So you have to kind of filter that to know what you need to spend time on. Because just like with the Christmas Day bombing, we got all kinds of crazy things that came into us, so you have to know what to prioritize. But that's a good thing, too, about having as many detectives as we have, because with cold case, we're all in the same office as homicide, and homicide alone has 28 detectives, plus I have 7, so that's a lot of people that, if we need that help, they're there. We've got all those other people that'll help us. And that's just for going through the Crime Stoppers tips.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you. Good?
Yeah, so we were at the other
Oh, yeah. My first name is Robert, Robert, and my last name is Nielsen, Nielsen. I'm a sergeant with Cold Case. Yes, sir.